Hello, welcome back to my channel. In this episode I'll be doing the BookTube Reading Habits tag, and I'm going to get cracking straight away. So here we go. Question 1. Do you have a certain place at home for reading? Yes, mostly in bed, in the bath, or on my patio. If I'm in bed, I have a tendency to fall asleep now because I'm getting on a bit, so I have to be very careful because I now use a Kindle, and it really hurts if a Kindle falls on your face while you're asleep. And if I'm in the bath, of course, I have to be very careful because I don't want to drop my Kindle in the water. So I've actually got two Kindles. I've got the bath Kindle and my proper Kindle, and isn't that sad? Question number 2. Bookmark or random piece of paper? Neither. To be honest, when I used real books, I would always fold the corner of the page over. I dog-eared my pages, and it's a bad habit, but I'm not ashamed of it. It's what I did. I don't do it anymore because I've got a Kindle, and if I was ever borrowing someone else's book, then I would probably use a random scrap of paper. In fact, in the old days when I was a smoker, it was probably a cigarette paper, a Rizzler. But I very rarely borrowed books because I had plenty of my own, and so if I needed to mark my page, I would just turn the corner over and dog-ear it. Sorry. Question number 3. Can you just stop reading, or do you have to stop after a chapter or a certain amount of pages? Well, in the old days, when I didn't fall asleep all the time, I would always religiously read to the next chapter, even if I was getting tired and I wanted to stop. I would always read to the next chapter and then stop so that when I started again, I was starting a new chapter. Now that I'm getting a little bit older and I have a tendency to doze off unexpectedly, I tend to just stop wherever I am. Question number 4. Do you eat or drink while reading? Yes, I'm sorry to say I do. And again, in the old days when I read actual physical books, I would get food and drink all over them. I've still got books that are crusted with curry and bits of cornflakes. It's a disgusting habit, but the kind of books that I like to read, which are fantasy books, have all these graphic descriptions of food and eating all through them. I think it's Tolkien's fault. He started it with the hobbits and their big appetite, and it seems to be traditional in fantasy books to have all these lavish descriptions of food, and it makes me hungry while I'm eating. So yes, while I'm eating, I'm always munching, and again, now that I've got my Kindle, it's much easier to keep that clean than paper books, which stain. Question number 5. Multitasking. Music or TV while reading? Is this even a thing? Do people actually do that? Never. I would never ever multitask while reading. I need full and total immersion when I'm in my... And again, it's probably because of the type of book I like reading. I like fantasy. The reason for reading fantasy is escapism. I don't want to be reminded about what's going on in the real world. I want to 100% disappear into my book. I need total immersion. I can't have any distractions. So definitely no music, no TV. Question number 6. One book at a time or several at once? Always one book at a time. Again, I can only concentrate on one thing at a time anyway, and if I'm into a book, I want to be in it 100%. I can't bounce backwards and forwards between different universes and different characters. I like total immersion, and while I'm reading a book, I'm 100% devoted to that book and that world. Question number 7. Reading at home or everywhere? At home, only at home. Again, the distraction thing. If I go anywhere else, there are distractions, and I can't handle distractions. I want immersion. So I only read at home. Even at home, there are distractions, but at least it's a slightly more controllable environment. Question number 8. Sorry, I was just reading the question silently because that's the nature of the question. I apologise. It's the way my mind works. Question number 8. Reading out loud or silently in your head? Always silently in my head. The only possible reason or excuse for reading out loud is if you're reading to another person, if you're performing it to an audience, which I generally don't ever do. Anyone who needs to read aloud just when they're reading to themselves, they have a problem. Did that sound incredibly intolerant? Am I a bastard? Question number 9. Do you read ahead or even skip pages? I never read ahead or skip pages when it's my first time reading the book. And if it's a book that I love and that doesn't have any boring bits, then I will reread it again and again, and also never read ahead or skip any pages. However, occasionally there's a book that I will reread that I love, but it has 1 or 2 bits that I find boring or that I don't want to have to read again. And so in exceptional circumstances, I may skip ahead. There's a character called Evandar in the Devry series by Catherine Kerr, and I hate this character. He irritates me, he annoys me, and there's a section in one of the books that I find incredibly boring and tedious, and I always skip ahead because I don't like it. But generally, as a rule, I like to read every word on every page because I'm a little bit OCD. Question number 10. Breaking the spine or keeping it like new? In an ideal world, every single book would be pristine and would remain pristine. I love the look of a brand new book. Oh dear. I love the look of a brand new book. Always keep it pristine if you possibly can, and it looks lovely on your shelf. However, I think much more important than the appearance of the book is the contents contained within. It's the story. The point of a book is to read what's inside it. So if you have to bend the spine round in order to get to those words that sort of bend round the corner on the inside bit, do it. I destroy the spines of all my books because it's much more important to enjoy reading the book rather than keep it looking lovely. Even though if I could do magic, I would make all my books be pristine again. Question number 11. Do you write in your books? Hell no, never. That's vandalism. I have never written in a book. Actually, I tell a lie. I've underlined 2 words in a book once. And I will show you. Bear with me. There were 2 words that I didn't understand, and I underlined them so that I could look them up later, because in the days that I was reading this, there was no internet and there was no Kindle that you could just tap on a word and get a dictionary definition for. So I underlined the word unalloyed, because I didn't know that word and it looked interesting, and I underlined the word tenacious, which shows how young I was to not know the word tenacious, which is kind of a simple word. So those 2 words, they're still underlined even today, but that is the only time I've ever vandalised a book, and I did it for good reasons because I wanted to improve my vocabulary. So that's it. That was the 11 questions of my reading habits tag. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I will see you next time. See you later.